Alright guys, day 2, Fort Loudon Tellico Bassmaster Elite Series out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Day 1, little recap. Had 3 bass, 3 little swimmers that weighed 4 pounds 8 ounces. We're in 58th place, 8 places out of the cut, little under a pound. Be able to fish on Saturday. New weather system rolled in. It literally started raining about the time we blasted off, and it rained all day. All day it rained until I came in to check in, and then the sun came out, and that's normally how it goes. First off, I want to talk about my AFCO rain gear real quick. That's the driest I've ever been in a rain suit fishing in my entire life. 26 years of being on this earth, that's the driest I've ever been, and that's probably the most I've ever fished in the rain as far as it rained all day, the whole time I was out there. I actually wore the AFCO Hydronaut suit, which is a little bit heavier duty because it was still cold, but literally didn't get wet around the cuffs, didn't get wet around the knee area, your ankles were the normal places you get wet, around the neck, nothing. Never got wet anywhere. So huge shout out to those guys. Really glad that I have that kind of rain suit, that kind of product to keep me warm and dry out in all the elements, because we don't really have a say-so on if we get to go fishing, if it's raining or if it's cold and any of that. So thanks to those guys again. I started where I started the first morning, just in that little pocket, because I thought there might be some fish moving on up in there. You know, didn't get a bite. Saw a lot of guys in the area where I started that actually caught them on day 1. I knew the fish were in the area that I was starting in up the river. I just couldn't never get some confidence to stay there, or a bait, or just knew that if I stayed there they'd eventually start biting. And hats off to those guys that did figure that out. You know, a lot of times you're on the right deal, or you know the bait, you just don't hit it at the right time, or just a whole lot of stuff goes into it like that. But run on down the lake. I wheel it into a little place right inside a pocket that I got a bite in practice on. Didn't get a bite, and I was just like, I'm just gonna fish down the bank, just fish the rest of this pocket. You know, I've got a long day. I'm in the last flight. I can kind of expand, kind of explore a little bit more than I could on day 1. Trolling down the bank, throwing my little flat side in between the docks. Get to the last dock that's really got some water on it in this pocket. Skip my chatterbait under there. I reel it. I come by the next to last post from the outside, and it hits it so hard. It's like the bass had a baseball bat and hit it as hard as it could. And when I stuck it, I guess the fish hit it going away from me is why it hit it so hard. Because normally a chatterbait bite, you just lose it because they eat it coming to you, and you set the hook and they come up with their mouth open. But when I hit this fish under the dock, it's digging going towards the bank, and I'm just holding on. And I mean, I know it's a big one, I don't know how big, and I winched 1 or 2 times, and you'll see it in the video. I get the fish turned, and she comes up, opens her mouth. It's easily a 6-pounder. It's between 6 and 7, like a giant, humongous fish. And you know, she turns around, opens her mouth twice, throws her head, and she comes off. You know, that's fishing. You know, it happens. You hate to lose a really big one in a tournament that there's not a lot of really big weights. You know, you're probably not going to be able to make that up. But again, fishing, there's no use in crying over spilt milk. Once I got that bite, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this all day, and whatever happens, happens. Even if I only get 2 more bites the rest of the day, if they're good ones, you know, I'll still be okay. I don't have to go catch 5 14-inchers. I'll do this all day and might catch 3 that weigh 15. So I ran that. A little bit after I lost the big fish, I caught like I think it was like a 2 3/4 or a 280 something on my scales, which is, you know, that's a really good one for Loudon right now. And I actually ran that pattern for, you know, another 4 hours and never got another bite. I don't know if they were biting first thing that morning and I didn't get down to that middle section of the lake soon enough to be able to hit that dock bite, because they were biting in windows, it seemed like. First thing, and then, you know, you might catch 1 or 2 in the midday, and then as it started getting later, the bite would pick back up like it always does in the wintertime. But so I think I kind of got the tail end of the dock chatterbait bite. On into the day, I kind of scrambled. I went back down all the way back to the low end of the lake, how I'd caught the keepers the first day, and I ended up catching one that was like a 14.5, weighed like a 1 3/4, really a fat, chunky fish. And I think, just like on day 1, I think I caught 3 or 4 that were 13 7/8 to, you know, 13, 15, 16, like just barely missing the line. And they're fat fish. Like, I mean, they're not like they're a pound. These are a 1.5 to a 1 3/4, 1 7/8 fish that easily, if you could keep 3 or 4 of them, I mean, you're golden. You're gonna get in to the cut to fish on Saturday. But you know, I was only able to catch 1 keeper on the crankbait. It's still raining all day. Hasn't stopped. Hasn't slacked up. I think with like an hour and a half to go. The crankbait bite had kind of died on me. So I just said, I'm just going to run back up the lake and throw a chatterbait till I got to go in. If I get a bite, you know, I know it's going to be a good one. And I had about 30 minutes left. Skip under it all with a chatterbait. Bam, catch a 2.5. You know, I knew that gave me about 6 pounds, which I thought the cut was going to be about 10.5. You know, close to 11. Really catch them, I was going to have a chance to make it with those 3. But if they caught them, you know, better than the first day weight cut, I was going to be right outside. Didn't get another bite, ran all the way back. Cut it close. You know, I always do that. Thankful for my Yamaha SHO. I cut it close every time. I've always, knowing that I'm going to get back. That's the most reliable engine I've ever had. I know I can cut to the last second. I'm probably not going to have any issues. I haven't yet, thank Lord. But you know, with that kind of equipment, you can push yourself and give you every last second that you need. We get back and I look at Bass Track and I see that I'm going to be a little bit short. Yeah, I wanted to fish. Yeah, I was really upset that I lost that really big one. I mean, I'd be in the top 20 easily. But to keep from having a absolute bomb of a tournament was a blessing in itself, because I wasn't on anything. Like, I had no idea what was going to happen. I was just going to go fish as hard as I could, throw a couple baits I had some confidence in, and that was going to be it. I'll run through the baits, rod set up really quick, and the line, all that. First was the you know, the bladed jig, the chatterbait. I like 3 different trailers. I was kind of just rotating through them. I throw a Super Fluke as a trailer. I throw a little jointed, you know, paddle tail swim bait, and then a Zoom split tail trailer, spinnerbait trailer. It really just kind of depends on, you know, how I'm wanting to fish the bait, if I'm wanting to really yo-yo it or just slow wind it. It just really depends on that. I threw a white one all day, or not all day, all tournament. Up here, if the water gets a little bit dirty, you can throw a white and chartreuse. I swapped it up some. Didn't really matter. The crankbait, I threw a flat side. You know, I threw a couple homemade balsa ones. I threw a Fritz side. I threw just, you know, but mainly the flat side deal is when you have the colder water. When the water starts warming up and getting into the mid 50s and, you know, 60, 62, you can kind of start expanding on your crankbait deal. You can throw, you know, a regular square bill or a, you know, a balsa that hits a lot harder. It doesn't have to be a flat side. Most guys like the flat side when you have the colder water. It just seems to get you a few more bites. I like the shad pattern. Like I said, a lot of guys caught them on the crawfish, the reds. They did really well. I just, like I said, I don't think I spent enough time doing that. The chatterbait rod was a 7.4 Arc Invoker Pro medium heavy, and it's our regular action. I've talked about it before. It's just a good action I like with that chatterbait. You keep the graphite rod with the parabolic bend. On the crankbait, I was throwing the exact same rod, same action, everything. It's just a 7.2. We have a 7.2 and a 7.4. Was throwing the 7.2 with the crankbait, 7.4 with the chatterbait. The reel on the crankbait, I was using the Lew's Custom Pro. It's a 6:8 to 1 gear ratio. It's a little bit slower, so I didn't have to, you know, slow myself down so much, but I didn't get really slow on the gear ratio where I'd have to wind real fast all day and wear me out. 12-pound Sunline FC Sniper on the crankbait, and then I was throwing 20-pound shooter Sunline on the chatterbait. The chatterbait reel was the Lew's Pro TI. It's just, that's the reel. That's my workhorse reel. Excuse me. And you know, that was my setup. 2 setups. That's how I caught the few fish that I caught during the tournament. Was able to, you know, stay in the top 60, which is, again, isn't great, but isn't bad. I think we ended up in 59th, so we actually dropped a place. And the one thing about the Elite Series that I've learned last year and these 2 tournaments is they're going to catch them better than on day 2 every time. You have to catch more than you caught on day 1 to even have a chance to stay where you were at or move up. And that's just the caliber of fishermen that we have. You know, all in all, not a horrible tournament, not a great tournament by any means, but salvaged some points. You know, didn't have a bomb. If we can just stay consistent and not have any bombs, I think we'll be okay, because we're going to have a couple of good ones. Somewhere at some point during the season, we'll have a couple really good finishes, hopefully. You know, that's kind of what it is. Our next one's up at Pickwick. Should be a lot better tournament. Should be a lot bigger weight. It's going to be a lot of big fish caught. Should be a fun tournament for everybody. Going to have to really catch them to stay in the top for sure. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. I'll get back with you as soon as I can. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys for the Pickwick tournament.